All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Daybreak Podcast. I'm here with Miss Lolo Knows. We're down here at the Metropolitan at the 9. I'm super excited to be here. We got lots of awesome stuff to talk about. She has a really diverse and awesome career. She's a very interesting person. Really talented artist, DJ, the whole deal. We're going to get into all of it. We got some of our artwork here laid out. So, just going to go over our quick ad read. So, this episode of the Daybreak Podcast is brought to you by Daybreak Enterprises. Headquartered in sunny Cleveland, Ohio, Daybreak Enterprises is a custom apparel company specializing in screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, and custom tie-dye apparel. From beer league softball jerseys, event apparel, to large corporate accounts, Daybreak has solutions for everybody. Are you or your organization interested in getting some new apparel made? Head over to daybreakenterprisesoh.com today to browse their portfolio and get inspiration for your next project. Again, that's daybreakenterprisesoh.com to get started on your next custom apparel project. All right, so like I said, I stumbled upon Lolo's Instagram after we did our episode with Garrett Wider, and I just thought her work was like really, really interesting, and I'm gonna let Lolo kind of introduce herself to everybody and say what's up and kind of tell us what's going on.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Or coming here to the 9 to do this.
Yeah, it's an awesome place. The Nine's a really, really great place. We found an awesome little corner here for us to record.
It really is. It truly is an iconic place here in the Cleveland area. Very popular among the locals, and it's just a really good vibe here.
Yeah, so you said you have a studio downstairs.
I do.
Okay, cool. And you've been down there for a while?
I have not.
You guys are fine. You can just walk right in front of it, right behind it. It doesn't matter. Yeah, not a big deal. Yeah. Thanks, fellas. Yep. Yeah, not a big deal. Yeah, it's a busy place. It's all good.
It is a busy place. You know, there's a lot of moving parts here to, having a lot of people don't realize that this place is, actually a place where people live. It's
Totally.
An apartment complex with a boutique hotel and, a full scale restaurant and a rooftop bar.
Yeah, I've been up on
the club downstairs, a speakeasy, the vault downstairs. And then you have Renew Wellness with Lolo,
Awesome.
My wellness studio in the, next to the gym in the basement.
Yeah, so you have the wellness studio down there, and then you kind of use that to like work on your artwork as well. Kind of use that as your studio.
I actually, I don't get to do that a lot here, but I've exhibited here multiple times. I used to be, I was their art curator for a couple of years up until about COVID, and then that kind of stopped. And then I ended up, just still, with my practice, and and I have awesome clients here who have my work in their apartments and their penthouses.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So it's beautiful, that my work has been, well received here, and I love it.
Yeah, it's definitely like a community kind of vibe. For sure.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And my work has been, an evolution over the years. It hasn't always, stayed the same. It's evolved.
Cool. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about your upbringing? I know you mentioned you have like pretty deep roots here in Northeast Ohio. But why don't you go ahead and tell us whatever you want to tell us about your upbringing?
My upbringing?
Just
in regards to Northeast Ohio, I've only been in Northeast Ohio since 1997. So,
okay.
97 is when it really, it was a great time.
Yeah.
In the club scene, and I've always been an artist. So being around artists and musicians and DJs, and I've always surrounded myself with a lot of creative people, forward-thinking people that were not afraid to live outside of their how do I say this?
Get outside their comfort zone.
Get outside their comfort zone and learn.
try doing something different.
Exactly. Those are always very important to me. And even just as an artist, whether I'm doing a painting or doing music or anything, I create from the same place. And that place is, real.
I think it's so interesting that you say that, because I feel the exact same way, like with my creativity, my artwork and everything, because I work on music too. I'm more of a rock and roll guy, punk rock kind of guy. But a lot of that inspiration and everything comes from the same place. And it's interesting how, like, us as, creative people and artists or whatever, I've talked about that before, how I felt like that stuff comes from it comes from the similar place.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So you came here and you were like mostly like DJing and stuff?
No, DJing came.
That came later.
Came later. I've been in the music, scene for a long time, since, my early days, and, my early days in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And a lot of that really fueled a lot of my artistic. And then I've gotten a lot of opportunities to be in New York because my family's from New York.
Oh, cool.
I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, sweet.
So, like, I have, being able to go back and have a lot of that influence, all of that energy and all that influence really influenced all of my art that I have today. I totally see it. A lot of it was, imaginatory, cubist,
totally.
It's an abstract expression. That's what I consider myself. When people ask me what kind of artist I am, I say I'm an abstract expressionist.
Totally. I would agree. Yeah. New York has that kind of, I firmly believe New York's like a magical place. Like,
absolutely.
There really is, like, there's some kind of magic there in the city. And because I feel the same way. Like, the first time I ever went to New York, I made an effort. I wanted to go alone. I wanted to be by myself. I didn't want to go with anybody else. And I also didn't have much of a plan. I just kind of knew, like, okay, I'm going to be in this neighborhood, and then I'm going to go downtown and check this out and that out. And that's exactly what I should have done at the time, because it was uniquely inspirational, and, like, there was just some kind of magic about New York City. And I'm kind of getting that itch, like, I need to go back. But again, I want to go alone. I want to go alone again and just walk, walk 5, 6, 7 miles a day, and just, like, find that magic that I found the last time that I was there. But yeah, I think that's awesome.
Being able to play in Brooklyn, New York last year, I did this pre-movement party with Wajid and Willoughby, and it was an amazing, opportunity to, like, connect and feel that connection. And because that connection, when you're from there, when you're actually born from there, it's a different energy.
Oh, I'm sure.
And especially when both of my parents were, first generation Puerto Ricans that came into the city from Puerto Rico. And they were, it was like an amazing, I feel their energy in me because of that.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And when I went back and when I played for them, it felt very natural.
Yeah.
It was such a great vibe. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, you went back.
As long as I live. And I'm looking forward to going back this summer to New York and doing a show or two. So it's just like, it's nice to be able to get to this level with my DJ career and being able to play in other cities and, connect with other, communities. And it's such a wonderful experience just to see where my energy is taking me.
Yeah. Isn't that wild how, like, every city you go to, it seems like, has its own energy. And I feel like as creative people, we are really sensitive to picking up on that kind of thing. I'm really sensitive to, like, picking up on, like, energies of other people and vibes of other people and vibes of entire cities. Because every city I go to, every city I go to, it literally it's like it's a huge city, but it's almost like it's one thing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I remember even when I first went to San Diego, it was like, oh my God, the city. It was like literally like slowed down by 50%. And it's just like the most chill, laid back town I've ever experienced in my life. And then you go to New York and it's hustle and bustle and
Exactly.
it has a whole completely different, it's like its own beast, you know, it's like, it's cool.
That's what it is. When you're there, you feel it.
Yeah.
So it kind of charges your own soul.
Yeah, it
You know,
energizes.
like you have to when you're in New York, you got to work to be in New York City.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
there's no shortcuts. There's no nothing. Like it's like you got to, but you know what? When you're there and you feel everybody on that path because they want to live there because it is a great city.
Oh, absolutely. I don't care what anyone says.
The energy's just different. You know, everywhere you go, it's just different. It feels good. But it's, it's a lot. It can be a lot for the wrong person that's there. You might want to be there for a short time and see if it's really something for you. Because it's not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah, totally. Now, you briefly mentioned Pittsburgh. Like I saw you started at this, is it Shenley High School?
Shenley High School.
Yeah.
Listen to this.
Yeah, I want to hear the story.
Okay. So one of my favorite artists and very early influences, and obviously you see, his influence in my work too, is Andy Warhol.
Yes, totally.
Him and I graduated the same high school.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I think I might have read that.
Shenley is no longer a high school. Closed down some years ago, and now it's some fancy apartment building. But the building is so beautiful. It was the first over $1 million high school ever built in the United States, and it was one of the first triangular buildings built at that time as well. So but it's a beautiful place. I'm glad that it's being preserved and in some way, but I'll tell you what, I had my most creative experiences came from that high school.
Now, is that a private school or a public school?
It's a public school.
Cool.
It was a magnet public school.
Cool.
So it was heavy in the arts. We had the Pittsburgh Ballet, students or their theater come over here to, I went to school with a lot of them.
Wow.
At that time, our arts program, our, painting, my art teacher's still alive, and I got to see her recently.
That's awesome.
Like a couple of years ago, I had to hunt her down.
Yeah.
She's still in the same spot, and still she retired very well.
Yeah.
Okay, and she did very well, and I'm happy for her. She lives a very quiet life, and she takes care of her horses and her ranch. That's the life she's living out there. And she still looks wonderful. And we had such an amazing time. But let me tell you something, the arts, it makes me sad because if arts are being taken away from high schools now, it makes me sad because it was those were the things that gave me my identity. It gave me my compass in life.
I talk with my mom about this all the time, the importance of expression, how important it is as human beings and especially young people to be able to express themselves in some kind of way that's not, what's the word I'm looking for? Express themselves in a positive way or, you can look at all the nitty gritty studies about how artwork and expressing yourself does great things to the brain and brain health and everything. But to strip that away from young people, to not give them some kind of an ability to express themselves creatively. That's just, it's wrong, and if there's anything I can do later on in my life, I always kind of, one of those things I think about sometimes when I'm falling asleep at night. I think about, well, what kind of charity would I have if I could have a charity? It would be exactly that. It would be funding music and art programs in underfunded schools.
Let's do it.
And yeah, seriously.
Let's do it.
No, like making sure these kids have what they need to be able to express themselves. And if that means that we need to pay a teacher's salary to do it, like we'll pay the salary to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's nothing I'm able to do right now.
But that's a good plan for the future. It's something I'll definitely be interested in. Let me know.
And yeah, but yeah, so we briefly talked about it, and I was just looking down. We talked about expression, and I kind of wrote this question down. Like when I was reviewing your portfolio and everything, I was really impressed by like your ability to use really abstract themes, but they also still seem really expressive.
Yeah.
And you talked about how important that is to you, and has that always been like really important to you with your art? And then also, how does that relate to your music as well?
Well,
I know
very passionate because no, I'm about to answer it. Some of the most music and my art go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I really do. I play a lot of music when I paint. It's vital for me. It makes me feel very connected. I can kind of just gets my brain to just kind of shut down and focus in that moment. So I use it as a tool and as it just feels good to just be in that space and just paint. So that's what I do. I've done a number of like live painting stuff, and that actually helps being able to express myself even in front of a group of people, trying to bring up, painting to life, and having that, space, just that confidence to do that.
Yeah.
That's something that just didn't come overnight. I had to like develop it,
Yeah.
I wasn't always, very confident in my, art skills. I just knew I was an artist, but I needed to like keep developing and keep, practicing, and that practice just comes all the time. That practice comes in, finding new ways of expression.
Yeah.
And, sometimes getting out the box. And then it just at some point, some paintings I've, were almost in the garbage, and then they ended up being my best ones.
Yeah. Or people love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you might not have liked it very much, but people really love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Art, everything. It's all subjective at the end of the day. And what you just got, Andy gave the best advice, while there's trying to decide whether it's good or bad art, I'm going to keep making more art.
Yeah, for sure.
That was like my compass.
Yeah. I think the live painting thing is really interesting too, because it gets back to that vulnerability and expression.
Yeah.
And it shows people that how vulnerable that you can be.
Yes.
Like, and you allowed yourself to be vulnerable in front of these people. And that in and of itself is helping people, because it's showing other people that they can be vulnerable and they can have that power to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a really cool, the idea of live painting and making a piece of work like in front of people, because that's so raw, and it like shows people the power of making yourself vulnerable. And there's so many people in our lives that experience traumas, right? Like really bad trauma. And one of the hardest things for people who have experienced really bad traumas is the ability to be vulnerable. Like they really struggle with the ability to let themselves go and let themselves be vulnerable. And if they can see somebody like you doing something amazing and creating a piece of artwork live, like that has to be like so inspirational for people, and it shows them like I can be vulnerable and I can express myself.
I DJ'd and painted at Ingenuity for one of their events, one of their fundraising events, and I was one of the invited artists to come in and paint a big 10-foot by like 4-foot thing, okay, front and back. So I ended up setting up my, DJ stuff, and then, I ended up like DJing and painting in that session. Just expressing it. This little girl, she had to be about 10 or 11, 12, in that range. And she comes up and says, I want to paint. I says, why do you want to paint? She said, I just want to express myself.
Yeah.
And so I handed her what I had left over of the paint and had her paint the other side.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
And she did. She felt good after that. And she did pretty well.
Yeah.
It was just amazing how much, in that moment, just allowing her to just do a similarity of, looking outside of herself in expression.
Imagine if she didn't have that opportunity.
Right.
Ever in her life.
Right.
No one gave her that. I imagine no one gives her that.
Yeah. That was a pretty tender moment,
Yeah.
but it does. It's true though. It works. Being in the wellness industry for the last 25 years, I've helped people, get out, relax and, get at one with themselves and start putting in time into doing self-care.
Mm.
We can go all day, but at some point our body will say otherwise.
Yeah, that was my back yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Like you're either gonna slow yourself down, or your body's going to slow you down.
And those are the times you need to pay attention. Like, and say, okay, it's time for me to start investing back into self-care, whether it be, stretching, walking, just being mobile, moving that blood, moving that body. A lot of people lack proper stretching. And you know what? Honestly, with the sedentary lifestyles that we're leading and stuff, a lot of people don't walk enough.
Yeah,
they're not moving their body enough, and they need to get up, because honestly, movement is medicine.
Yeah, totally.
Movement is medicine.
Totally.
They don't tell you that, but actually reframe the mind. I had to reframe my mind from it being a workout to that.
Yeah, I'm really big into exercising, working out, lifting weights. And I feel like, obviously we all know this, but all the chemicals and endorphins and everything that are released, I feel like that even that helps carry over into my artwork, because it helps me bring energy into what I'm doing.
It's making you feel good. You're raising those happy endorphins, and guess what? Guess what happens?
You want to be creative.
You're like a kid again.
Yes. You want to create.
You want to be creative.
Yes.
Whatever that is, whether it's baking that cake you've been putting up, or organizing that closet, or maybe building that shelf you've been wanting to do. Anything.
Yes.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Stop, but move your body. If you're sitting too much, your body doesn't get a chance to,
wake up
and grow.
Your heart wants to pump.
It really does. And the ideas, they flow naturally.
Yeah.
They're within you.
Yeah.
They are within you. They're your own. I can't express that enough. And it will just come when you're least expecting. It's like a light bulb. It goes off. So give yourself a chance to just.
The body is supposed to move.
Right.
Like we were evolved as hunters and gatherers, literally chasing down animals, to chasing them down for hours in order to have something to eat. The heart is meant to move like that. And then what do? They go home, and hunters and gatherers would dance, and they would make art. They'd dance around fires. They'd have ceremonies. It's like the human body is meant to move, and it's meant to do that, and to be used in like a meaningful way, So I think that's cool.
You know what? And I will just have to say this. For anybody that's in the Cleveland area, I've been here for like 9 years. And if you ever need a good therapist, a good massage therapist, I am that girl. Been doing it for 25 years. And the energy just doesn't stop. I have, these hands are anointed.
For sure. No, I believe that. I don't
take them for granted, and I take very good care of them. Just because, I do all these other things, I've been given a gift that helped me be able to
help other people
and also be able to, open up my world to my art,
For sure.
And to be able to enjoy my process in that. And especially even as a, music artist, It's like I love that beautiful gift that I was given to help sustain me in this life was helping me become, the other things that I wanted in my life, which was to paint and, make music and make people dance and, enjoy spreading my joy that way as well.
For sure. So I noticed a lot in your artwork. This is kind of related to what you were just talking about. Like, there's a lot of themes centered around like humanity and the human form.
Yes.
Now, why don't you talk a little bit more about that and how like humanity influences you in your artwork?
Oh man. Like Frida Kahlo comes to mind because her and Marilyn Monroe, when I was in high school, since I was in high school, I did this big 24 by 36 portrait of Marilyn.
Yeah.
And that was my like first complete piece, like from building the canvas to stretching the canvas to, doing the whole process. And I enjoyed that thoroughly because it really, figures like Marilyn, were intriguing to me. They've always intrigued me. These, very amazing energies that came into our life, and they went out like that. Yeah. But there's that spark never died, and and it's amazing how they live on through all of us.
It's the spirit,
and
right?
It's their spirit. Like I get to paint her, really, because she's in my heart too. And like Frida's in my heart. I wasn't always a fan of Queen Elizabeth, but later on, as I got to know her story, I became intrigued, and there were aspects to her strength that I drew upon. I felt like, man, I get that, like what it's like to even be a queen. Even just being able to paint her and imagine her life and having that, play in the background, and even just getting her, that stare, in this piece it was my favorite because she has such a stoic, she's such a stoic figure. And you know what? She's also a very well respected, stoic figure. And I think that's huge for all of us to remember that, we're not just these one-dimensional creatures. You're very multifaceted, and and some of these, they live in my work, and I express my own self in there. And then when I do like pieces, there's a piece on here. I think I pulled that out, the self-portrait one. Yeah, I did. Here's my self-portrait I did.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I said, why not?
Yeah, totally.
The flow, the angles, the colors, and all of it kind of goes very hand in hand with Elizabeth. Same.
I love that painting. It's great.
You see how just that stoic stare, that stare was everything. I had to get it right. Yeah. It was all about where you set that on dot.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Huh?
It's just amazing work.
Thank you. And I know you love this one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that one.
Marilyn, because we were just talking about Marilyn and my influence with Warhol. Yeah. So here we go. I have to keep remembering to put this thing up.
Yeah, that one's amazing. The colors, like the fluorescence and stuff like that.
I can't wait to see you frame this one in your.
It'll be in a special place, that's for sure.
That's your.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I love it.
I love that you love that one, and that was the one he picked. They like
Yeah.
strong too.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great stuff. What would you say your proudest moment as an artist is?
My proudest moment as an artist. I'll tell you what my proudest moment. Hold on. I've had some pretty awesome moments.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. That's the thing. We got to remember that even when things slow down, I'm learning that even when things slow down, I have a lot to be grateful for because I've done a lot of cool stuff or had some cool things. But I will tell you this story. Okay. So in 2016, my mother passed. Okay, but right before she passed, I did this art show. I wanted her to, see a body of my work before she passed away, and it was a big party. I ended up having April Thompson, who has been a chef for the Cavs, and like a bunch of people who came out for this thing, and like she made this spread. I had all of my work, and this was at the 78th Street Studio Gallery, because at that time I rented a gallery space there to do this, to be able to create these works for this show. And I worked day in, day night. And it was my way of being able to cope with what was happening to my mother, that she was, this was going to be her last year with us. So it was just like, it was one of those things. So I poured all of my energy, my love, my heart, my soul onto these pieces. And I did get it done. It came about. And on that night, I'll never forget that I got a call from my sister, and she was like, I don't think my mom's going to be able to come. And I'm like, what do you mean she's not going to be able to come? I did this for her. You know what I mean? You mean, are you serious? Like, I think at one point she was worried about her being out and about and everything else, because she can be a worrywart. I just know she is. So then my sons ended up picking her up, and my nephew, and there was probably over 150 people that showed up at this event. And it was an amazing show. And she got to experience that. I had DJs spinning the whole night. I had a bunch of house music DJs spinning, doing like back-to-backs and spinning the whole night, and food and everything. It was like, I'm happy she got to see that. So that was one of the most special moments. And then the next one was when I submitted this painting, and I'm glad you're bringing it. This is called I Paint My Feelings. Okay?
Yeah.
This one's called I Paint My Feelings. This was, this piece was chosen to exhibit in Detroit, Michigan at do you know who Russell Simmons is?
Yeah, he's
his brother Daniel Simmons, and his team, because he does arts. He's a big artist, and he's been in the arts for a long time. They chose that piece to be exhibited in, and it's the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History.
Wow.
And it was this big exhibit there, and it was fully catered by, and then there was your sponsor, Bombay Sapphire. That was it, the Bombay Sapphire exhibition.
Wow.
And it's nationwide. And I was got chosen this.
Okay? Yeah, that's killer.
This is where everything gets. The day when I found out that piece got chosen, I was in disbelief. I didn't think I was reading that.
Wow.
The whole thing. And I was really distraught, and all these tremendous emotions. And I wanted to know if this was actually
Yeah.
major museum.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, but yes, it was real. I will have to say this. There was the day that she died, which was October 25th, 2016, was the exact day that I had to deliver that painting, take it to Detroit.
Wow. Yeah, that had to be.
For the exhibition.
Yeah, that had to be pretty heavy for sure. That's wild.
And I was in the car with my son and my nephew. They went up there with me, which was great. Yeah, it was pretty intense. But she died like early that morning around 3 something. Like we were in the car at like 6:30.
Yeah. Did you even feel like you wanted to go? Or were you just kind of like overwhelmed with emotion? Yeah.
And I was second guessing it, my nephew and my son said,
Wow. Yeah, she would have. Right?
so they want
Yeah. Can I see your mic for a sec? Yeah, it's just it was just blinking for a sec. Be careful with that button. Yeah, it would. It would have been.
Okay.
Sometimes if you press the button, it just starts blinking, but it's fine. Yeah, it was working fine.
Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about when you started getting involved in music. Is there like a story behind that, or?
I've always been involved with music.
Yeah.
I mean, from the early days of like, like hip hop developing in like the late 80s, early 90s. I was a club kid. So I was a dancer.
Yeah.
And some of the most notable clubs that, that don't exist anymore is one of those is like Limelight in the early 90s. I went there and danced. There was it was just a whole scene back then. It was just free.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I know a lot of that.
It was lovely.
It's kind of having a resurgence.
Everybody was so present. That's why a lot of us can remember so many key things, hopefully.
Yeah.
But a lot of us who know how to, party properly.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like we didn't miss anything. Like we were in it.
Yeah.
We remember. I think that's important when you're out having experiences that is that makes people feel like they're in a moment that they're going to remember forever.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like a lot of this kind of music is making a bit of a resurgence, like electronic music.
Oh, it's been, I got involved in our scene and, I've been a part of this scene since, 97.
Yeah.
From the hip hop scene here in Cleveland to the electronic scene here in Cleveland. And I've always been very, consistent. I love going out. I love being able to get dressed up. I love going out. I love the nightlife.
Yeah.
I love dancing. I've always surrounded myself in music. I've done some singing. I've, been in the entertainment business, done a movie.
Wow.
Yeah, you can look up the movie. It's on I'm an IMDb actress.
That's awesome.
Lolo, look it up. Look it up. Yes, cool. You'll find me on there. It's there's a movie called Connected, and it's you can get it like on Tubi.
Sweet. Let's take a look at it. Tell us about that. We briefly talked about it before the show, but the Lolo Knows radio network as well as the Deep Space Radio. Like, what's kind of the deal with those?
Okay. So I've been doing Lolo Knows radio since 2012. Okay. And I would have my own, network handle, I was getting a lot of my stuff over onto Apple Music, and all of those shows are still there, like Apple, iHeartRadio, it's on Amazon. music. You can, you know, wherever you get your podcasts, it's on all the podcast stuff. I think everything now, depending on who hosts your podcast, everything kind of gets shot out there.
Yeah, I have like, it does.
It does.
It
So
does like,
yeah, it does all of that.
Yeah.
So, but now with Deep Space, I started. Deep Space approached me about doing a weekly show, and taking on some spots. And they're based out of Detroit and Atlanta, and they've got a global network. So there's my ties to Detroit. You know, a lot of people who get to know me, it's funny, they don't ever really think about Cleveland with me. They always think Lolo, Detroit. Because a lot of my I've got a lot of great relationships in Detroit, and my energy feels like Detroit a lot. Detroit, and it feels good. And even with Cleveland, I'm proud of what we've been able to do here in Cleveland. It's been like a slow grind over the years, because you get people that grow older, and some people who fall out of the club scene, and then you've got those people coming up after, and then those people definitely have, their tastes are evolving. When people come in, I'm glad that people are starting to listen more to house music. House music is supposed to make you feel good. It's a spiritual thing. It's that music that builds up your energy and makes you feel good. Techno does the same thing. I love techno as well. I can see myself dabbling a little bit into techno soon, very soon.
Yeah, totally. So as far as your music goes, like, are you like kind of producing your music from start to finish? Are you working with instruments? Are you working with software?
Yeah, definitely working with software.
Yeah,
and,
the software nowadays is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's this is the thing. I love the fact that, to me, I feel like music's like an abstract puzzle to me, like an abstract painting to me. And that, again, it's just it's a different art, but that's what I do. It's like an abstract painting to me, and it's awesome when it all comes together.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But I love it. I love house music, and when I came out, and started doing some house, released my first record on Import Tracks, which is based out of New York City, which, again, back in New York.
Yeah, totally.
I was so proud of that too. And there's a lot of really awesome people on that label. And then my next two tracks got signed to the same label, and I had some remixes. I've been working with this other producer, Cole Lawton. He's from the UK. Him and I did my last record together, called My Mind. And it's a real deep house, kind of thinking of the person that you love. You've been on my mind, and all these things. So, kind of bringing back that vibe of love and feeling again, which is really important in my music, and expressing it even with, spoken word or, melody. Yeah. That's important.
Now, when you're performing music, are you I know like a lot of DJs will like spin vinyl and stuff, but that's like not always the easiest thing to do nowadays. Are you?
It's a very expensive. That would be very expensive unless you've been like collecting for a long time. It makes total sense. But like, yeah, I would totally spin on vinyl if I could. But like I said,
that's a whole,
I just buy records. I do buy records.
Yeah.
I love I'm building my vinyl collection as we speak, but
totally.
It's
a hard endeavor. Yeah.
It's definitely a hobby. That's why, I'll build over the years. We'll see what happens. But yeah. But yeah, I love CDJs. I love the industry standard. I love having a few decks to work with, like 3 to 4.
Yeah.
So that I'm able to, level up my sounds with like 2, 3 tracks, and, work within those tracks at the same time. And then I love being in the groove when I DJ.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've talked a lot about this, but like, as far as your, you really do feel like your art and your music kind of blends together and comes from like a similar place. like inspiration wise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Is there anything else music wise you wanted to talk about?
Like, well, I have a record coming out.
Well, there you go. Let's talk. Yeah, that's amazing.
My record is called Higher Place. It's releasing Friday, May 9th. Awesome. On TrackSource for the first 2 weeks. So go to TrackSource on promo. You guys can follow me there at Lolo Knows. I'm also on Spotify as well. And wherever you get all of your music, I'm on there. I even, I was playing Pandora and I'm on Pandora now.
That's sweet.
I just thought about like, man, I want to be on Pandora one day. And now I'm like, let me look me up because I never did. Yeah. But I have a subscription to Pandora and I did. I'm sure I am on there.
Man, I remember I was using Pandora years and years ago. I used to love it because it was a pretty good like radio. It would give you different tracks and stuff like that that you haven't heard before. And
yeah, exactly. That's what I use it for. Yeah, honestly,
sure.
Besides my wellness practice, but I do use it for that as well because there are like, oh my God, oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And then you can always get, and I always base all of my tracks around those.
Yeah.
That sound too.
Now the record's coming on, you said May 9th?
May 9th on Ritual Beats, which is based out of France. This is this record label is newer.
Okay.
But it's slated to be the next Affected, and a lot of awesome artists are already on there, like Paul Latin. There's like a laundry list of other artists that are on there that are doing their thing. Seven Fisher, who is a New York based producer who lives in the UK now as well. So like, and a lot of these artists that I'm like connecting with, they're all like, playing, these producers are playing, all over the world now, and places that, when I played Miami last year, Miami Music Week, that was amazing, having an opportunity to do that. And I'm looking forward to having more opportunities to work in Miami. Yeah. Now, I have that opportunity now opening up, which is really exciting.
Another city,
so like spreading that dirty disco vibes, but also I do like my monthly.
Yeah.
My monthly called Dirty Disco, and I love it. It's in Baxter Speakeasy in Akron, and I've been doing this show for the last 2 years.
Is that right next to Luigi's?
No.
The pizza place?
It's not.
It's a different spot?
It's in Akron. It's a different site. It's in the Historic Arts District. Do you know where it's called the Hop House? There's a Hop House, which is on South High. Is it North High? Or is that South High?
Because I thought there was a speakeasy next to Luigi's Pizza and down in Akron. I thought
I'm sure there is, but it's not where that's Luigi's is in Kent. They have one in Kent.
Okay.
And I think they have. I thought they had one in Cuyahoga Falls, but
maybe it's the Falls that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Maybe it is the Falls.
Well, hey, now.
But yeah, the record's coming out May 9th, and then it'll be on all platforms on Friday, May 23rd. It'll be on all major platforms. So yeah, go and support the record. It's an awesome, feel good, funky disco,
awesome,
like track. Think of, like bringing that funk and vibe into it with the sweet vocals.
Yeah, it's awesome. Now, tell us about the wellness practice. I know we briefly talked about it a little bit, but what kind of services are you providing for people? And
I am I'm a master massage therapist. Been doing it since the year 2000.
Okay.
I, a lot of the modalities that I utilize are like, relaxation, deep tissue, hot stone, polarity, which is like kind of like a hands-on Reiki type treatment, but different.
Okay.
And yeah, I've been doing that for a number of years. And then in 2009, I got my license in aesthetics. So I'm an advanced esthetician. I've done extensive work, especially in early on career. I really was into lasers and, that kind of stuff. So I went and did some studying in Scottsdale, Arizona, and got my laser certification on non-invasive cosmetic treatments like tattoo removal, and all these other things. So I ended up getting since Ohio they don't allow estheticians to do that, those things. I ended up taking a managerial position for a while at this rejuvenation spot in Beechwood.
Okay.
And we had like a plastic surgeon there who did all of the laser stuff. But yeah, I have an extensive background in that. And now currently I do like facials and, massages and make people feel good from the inside and out. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, so I guess we can get down to some of these bigger picture questions. Like, what do you think are the biggest challenges for Lolo right now? I know it's probably a lot, but or maybe not.
I think the biggest challenges in anybody's career is, getting the support.
Yeah.
Really getting the support. Everybody's kind of, busy and doing their own thing. And sometimes it feels like you're on a ship by yourself.
You care if I say something about that real quick? You just hit me like that. Just hit me right in the chest because, I definitely kind of feel like that exact thing. Like I'm just afloat, adrift in the ocean by myself, and my friends and my family, they try to be as supportive as they can be, but at the end of the day, like I have to carry my own cross, right?
Yeah.
I have to steer my own ship. No one's going to steer it for me. And yeah, but so like it makes it that much more special when people do show up to the shows and the live events.
Absolutely.
Or they buy a t-shirt from me, it's like it feels that much better. And then even because I do a lot of live events where I'm vending and selling stuff, and when I have customers, like repeat customers that come back and they're happy to see me, and it's like they tell me, oh my God, I get so many compliments on the shirt I bought from you. Like that just makes me feel so good, so, but I know exactly what you mean, that support, because everybody's busy. Everybody is so busy with life, and it's like they want to support you, but sometimes they don't necessarily know how, or they're just not able to.
Yeah, that's true. And then there's some people like I said, have moved on, like their lives have taken a shift. Me becoming, when being a full-time artist like I am and choosing that path, it hasn't been, it's been quite a journey. There's a lot, that I've sacrificed to be where I am now. And I feel like I'm still climbing that ladder.
Yeah.
But I know where I used to be and where I am now. So I can't lose sight of all the work that I have put in.
It's a high ceiling career.
Even if people think I'm nuts. And sometimes I feel like I'm like, am I? But I'm like, I don't want it. When people ask me what I do, I'm an artist. That's it. Everything that I do, it comes from me.
Yeah. Well, it's a high ceiling career, right? Like you can be broke and barely afford to pay for your studio apartment, or you can be a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
Like it's a really high ceiling career. And like you just said, like you're still climbing and you have no idea like what the ceiling is for Lolo. And I have no idea what the ceiling is for Kyle and Daybreak, so it's just like,
you just got to keep going and just saying, especially if you believe in it.
Yeah.
If you believe in you and you believe in what the sky's the limit. Unless you don't quit. The only way you lose is when you quit.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And it's like, I've had shows that are just brutal where I just like cannot wait to pack my stuff up and run home. And it's like I felt like I just sat and painted clown paint on my face for the last 4 hours because I'm just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing this to myself?
That's totally normal.
But then you have a show where you just go and you crush it. And it's like,
yeah.
Okay, well, this is why I'm doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not for the weak. You got to be tough.
Definitely isn't. And every person, literally, that I know, that I've spoken to, that I've even sat across and done these interviews all told me the same thing.
Yeah.
They had to climb out of, a lot of challenges in order to be where they were.
Yeah, it's not for the weak, being an artist, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, you got to be tough. You got to be able to roll with the punches. You got to be able to get punched in the gut, but you just but you believe in your work and you believe in yourself and you just keep pushing.
It also makes you value the people that you do have in your corner that are pushing you along, that are, helping you get to that, even in the smallest ways to get you that next level.
Well,
and don't be afraid to ask your friends. Sometimes if you're expecting your friends to do something, sometimes they don't realize that that's what you need from them.
Totally.
So maybe just ask. It's just like I've been getting to that point too, where I had to get out of my own way and my own feelings about whether someone was supporting me or not, and just ask them.
Yeah.
Hey, I need you to do something for you. What do you need?
Yeah, for sure.
No problem. I can do that for you.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, and it was just like that.
Yeah, for sure. That's it sometimes,
it's just like
asking for help.
Asking for help is crucial. And I was never good at that.
No, neither.
I always had to take on everything.
Me too.
Take on too much because, I can only trust my work, or I can only, I didn't want to have to repeat myself in what I needed from someone or lay down any kind of huge expectations on someone. I just put those expectations on myself.
Yeah. I relate to all of it. It's crazy. Yeah. What are some short-term goals? And I know you talked about the album coming out. Got any short-term goals?
Oh, absolutely. My short-term goals is to keep being alive and doing, continue pushing along this journey. But also, my short-term goals is touring. Putting my self in a position since last year to do more touring. So that's what I'm doing. I got, I'm going to be in Detroit this summer for Summer Bliss Music Festival. I'm also going to be in Detroit for Movement, Detroit Music Festival, and I'll be able to, interview some of, our favorite artists there and enjoy that time, getting, with the community. I always look forward to stuff like that. I have other, Art Basel. I'm looking forward to Art Basel this year. So, I'm really have some short-term goals in mind. And a lot of it, and to continue to throw some awesome shows here. I have some shows coming up even here. I balance a nice schedule here. I love being able to play in Cleveland and Akron, and doing my shows. I will keep those shows going because I want to build my community here too.
For sure.
That's important to me. Everybody thinks it's just a lot of my friends who got into, who are artists themselves left Cleveland because Cleveland didn't really support. So they had to go to other places to support them. And it's just like, I didn't want that. I'm like, why can't I have a community here? Now I understand, but I'm like, but I don't want to believe that. I want to believe my people are here. And you know what? They're showing up finally, but they're showing up.
They're here.
They're here.
Yeah.
They are here. So I have to keep believing that they're here and they'll just be here and they'll show up.
I'm always real inspired by
they're showing up
bands and musicians that are from New East Ohio. A really good example is the Black Keys and how they got big here.
Yes.
And then took it national.
Yes.
They didn't just skip town, go to New York, go to Chicago. They were selling out the Beachland Ballroom from the very beginning. And then from there they moved on to bigger and better things or whatever, but they found their community here. They found their audience here, and you can do the exact same thing,
Yeah. And you know what? It's platforms though that help, like Ingenuity Festival. I've been doing, shows for the Ingenuity Festival. I have one coming up, which is Friday, May 10th, I believe, the Ingenuity Ball. They do it every year because they do different events for Ingenuity every year. And look it up, Ingenuity.
Oh, it's awesome.
Cleveland.com.
Yeah, for sure.
Go to all their events, support the arts.
The events are nuts.
I support it. and you should support it too. It's amazing. And that, there's a lot of moving parts that go into putting something like that together and keeping it going. And I commend that whole team.
Oh yeah,
that's doing it there.
They do a great job.
They do a great job. Shout out to Ingenuity Festival. Yeah. I love them. It's people like them that put me in a position to get more people, and then in Baxter's as well, at the Hop House, and, growing a house music community in that area has been a labor of love. And I just want to keep it continued, and, hope that people there that live there continue to support it, and because I'll keep delivering the goods every time. I'm going to keep delivering the business every time. Because I'm there to dance, and we're there to let go and move that energy out, because it's healthy for your body. This is a great way. Again, at the beginning, we were talking about movement.
Well, dance is primal.
Movement it's primal. You have to release it. And this is a great way to release it. And especially with me, because I have the kind of music that, that makes you feel good to do that. The frequency is right for that.
What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up late at night? TikTok videos.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, meeting so many awesome people across the world on there and talking. Like, let's look at all of this stuff in a positive light. Here's the positive. It bridges us together.
Yeah.
It's a way of communicating. And if you're unable to travel, this is your way to travel, by understanding other different cultures.
That's
getting
a great
to know
way.
Getting to know something outside of yourself, a new place, and, making your insides want to dream more.
Totally.
Get outside your comfort zone, even online, and get to know a community there. It will change your mind. It might just change your heart.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I guess I've never really looked at it like that. It's a way of traveling.
Yeah.
And
seeing the world, brand new eyes. If you don't get to travel, that's a good way to. And understanding what it really is. And setting a new goal for yourself.
Totally.
To get out there and meet new people and experience new cultures. That's why I love being an artist. I'm surrounded by everybody, the whole world.
Totally.
And I love that.
Anything else you want us to say or bring up before we wrap this up?
I would love you guys to go, and although I've been very
Oh, okay.
I've been very intentional about doing this, but I want to do my monthly newsletter again.
Yeah.
And it's at loloknows.com. There's a pop-up window that comes on there. Send over your email, and that's all you have to do to sign up for the monthly newsletter.
Yeah.
Especially to keep you in the happenings of what I'm doing, because I got a lot of energy and
got a lot of stuff going on.
I got a lot of stuff. This is my act 2 in life, and I have no intention of wasting it.
For sure. I think you're doing an amazing job.
I appreciate you and wanting to get to know me, and sitting there with me and hanging out and
it's what it's all about, right?
This beautiful place.
I know, this place is awesome. Beautiful. No, I mean, it's what it's all about for me, is sitting down with new people out, and I look over your social media and portfolios and whatever, but I don't try to look too hard, because I really want to I want to shoot the episode and then really get to know you, and it's been an amazing experience in a way for me to connect with other people and help support them and promote them, as well as promote me and what I'm up to at the same time. And it's just a great thing, I think, for everyone involved. It's been a huge success so far. So
thank you.
Keep it going for a long time.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you'll be on again.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a lot of fun.
A year or 2 from now, we'll do this again.
You'll be at. Maybe you can come to my art studio next time. Just see me paint next time, and we can just hang out.
Yeah,
or maybe I just do a mix or something.
We'll figure something sweet out for sure. Because me and you are kind of on the same wavelength. art, music, just expression. Like, well, that's what's, I mean, I don't have any rules for this really.
That's the whole point. It's about letting go of things to come back to who you really are. Letting go of what's outside of you to come back to who you really are.
Yeah. And then you always hear it's like, oh, you're not supposed to do it that way. It's like, well, wait, why am I not supposed to do it this way? And it says who, and who cares?
Right.
And do whatever way I want to do it.
Right.
There's no rules.
No rules.
Anytime.
Here,
Yeah.
okay. I don't want everybody to, okay, rules. You set the rules. You govern yourself. Yeah. If you know how to govern yourself, we'd all be cool if everybody knew how to govern who they are. Control this. The only thing you have control over is this. This. Come back to this.
You have to you have to come back inside yourself.
That's right. That's the only way. It's the only way anybody in this world can attain to peace. If you have peace within yourself.
Figure out how to get within
yourself. If everybody can do that, we'd be at peace.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like, people say, oh, you're a screen printer and you're going to have a podcast. You should be interviewing other screen printers and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I'm going to interview whoever the hell I want to interview.
Absolutely.
And this is just going to be a podcast about culture and life. And art and music.
Amen. Thank you. And thank you for wanting to do this.
Because that's what screen printing is.
Thanks.
Every single t-shirt I screen print is a piece of artwork that comes from somebody's soul.
Yeah.
And every single t-shirt that people wear is a walking piece of art. And
let's collaborate on one.
Yeah, for sure. You do it. I mean, God, I'm looking at this. And
that's what I'm saying.
Because as a screen printer, I've been sitting here looking at this. I've been looking at this, and I'm like, oh my God, this stuff would be amazing to print. Yeah, just awesome stuff. Yeah. Well, hey, let's wrap this up. I want to thank you so much. I thought this was an amazing conversation. All these, I mean, since I started this, all these conversations have just been so amazing, and I feel like me and you really are on the same page with like so many things when it comes to expression and the human body, and I thought we really had a great conversation.
Absolutely, and I'm glad we talked with.
Go ahead and shout out any like recent upcoming shows you have.
Okay. Yes, I do. I have end of the month, Dirty Disco, which is fourth Friday of the month. What is that? The 20?
I don't know. I'm bad at that. Yeah.
Fourth Friday of the month, Dirty Disco at Baxter's. But you know what? Go to my social media because I do post on there at Lolo __knows, KNOWS. On Instagram because I post all of my stuff on there. I also even have a private group. I can even invite you to be in there as well. My little broadcast channel in there.
Oh yeah.
Been growing little by little. But it's exciting because it's a great tool to get notifications about stuff that I got going on. Also, Crowbar. I'll be at Crowbar this month.
Oh, sweet.
For Perv. Opening up Perv. So for the first couple of hours, I'll be DJing, and I'm going to be featuring my track for the first time there.
That's amazing.
And I'm really excited about that. So.
Yeah, so I just want to thank everybody for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe to this video, follow Lolo at Lolo __knows on Instagram. She's got a great Instagram where she keeps everything up to date. Yeah. You can follow us, Daybreak Enterprises, on Instagram to keep up to date with what we're doing. Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in. Thank you so much to Lolo.
And follow my YouTube at Lolo Knows. I have weekly videos of In the Know with Lolo Knows on there with some of your favorite electronic and music and art people on there as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you later.